Welcome to the Hospital Finance Podcast, your go-to source for information and insights that can help you stay ahead of the challenges impacting healthcare finance. And now, the host of the Hospital Finance Podcast, Michael Passanante.
Hi, this is Mike Passanante, and welcome back to the Hospital Finance Podcast. Recently, there have been some changes to how hospice reimbursement is treated under the Medicare Post-Acute Transfer Policy, and to explain those changes, I'm joined by Mary Devine, who is the Director of Revenue Cycle Services here at BESLER. Mary, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Mary, just to remind our audience what the Medicare Post-Acute Transfer Policy is, can you explain that for us?
Certainly. So, as a quick refresher, the Post-Acute Transfer Policy says that whenever a patient is discharged within certain DRGs, if it's below the geometric mean length of stay, if they are transferred to a hospital or a hospital distinct part unit, a skilled nursing facility, or home care within 3 days, and hospice, 50 or 51, then the claim is paid at a per diem rate up to the full DRG payment. And if it is above the geometric mean length of stay, it will not be impacted by the rule.
Thanks, Mary. As we started out the podcast with, hospice is going to be treated a little bit differently going forward. Can you tell us what the impacts are going to be there? Certainly.
So this started, probably several years back. Medicare and CMS started investigating the potential of including hospice into the post-acute transfer rule. They're just looking for more ways to save money. And it was really a big debate because there's thoughts that when you think about the post-acute transfer rule, it's just that, post-acute care. And when you talk about hospice, it's not treating, it's comfort. So people were trying to lobby and not have it included. And the other concern was that there were physicians that thought that if you include it into the post-acute transfer rule, that it would dictate the patient's post-care and when they could elect hospice and ultimately the quality of end of life. But unfortunately, it was included in the Bipartisan Budget Act in 2018 and was to be included starting with fiscal year 2019. So if a patient is discharged to a discharge status code of 50 or 51, hospice inpatient or hospice outpatient, then unfortunately it will be included in the post-acute transfer rule.
And what is the expected financial impact to providers?
Well, it is expected to be a huge impact to CMS and from a savings perspective. So it's roughly estimated to be about $540 million to CMS from a savings perspective. Now, of course, that savings means that that's going to impact providers. And depending on your volume, but it could be on an average $200,000 in reimbursement that you will be losing as a hospital.
Do you think that this could change the way providers offer hospice to patients in terms of the course of treatment or their inpatient stays?
Mike, I think that is absolutely a big question and concern that hospice providers have. They don't want to lose the referral of the patients into hospice and, as well as focusing on the overall treatment and care of the patient. But I think if you dug deep into some of the numbers, there aren't a lot of hospice transfers that are below the geometric mean length of stay. So, although it's $200,000, I don't think that it will impact whether a physician transfers a patient into hospice or not.
If you'd like to know more about this topic or other topics associated with transfer DRG revenue recovery, you can visit that page on our website at BESLER.com. Mary, thank you again for explaining these recent changes to hospice reimbursement.
Thank you.
If you enjoy the Hospital Finance Podcast, please head up to iTunes to subscribe and leave us a positive review.
This concludes today's episode of the Hospital Finance Podcast. For show notes and additional resources to help you protect and enhance revenue at your hospital, visit BESLER.com/podcasts. The Hospital Finance Podcast is a production of BESLER. Smart about revenue, tenacious about results.